Good morning, folks.
Morning.
We're on the road. Got a motel last night for $100. A really, really nice room. Saturday morning, 8/12/2018. We're on our last leg of the journey back to DeLand, Florida, after a couple of weeks of vacation and at least 1 week of overlanding in the North Woods. Had an interesting time and a couple small events. One of them, I think we did real good at getting the vehicle and trailer, which actually slid off a little road that was probably too small for the truck and the trailer, but we attempted it anyway, and they both went off the road, and I think we did a good recovery. We got it back on.
Well, did a good recovery because we got it out.
We got it out, but I mean, we didn't damage anything,
No.
or, you know, that's always a really good recovery.
And we saved a tree. We didn't cut a tree down.
Right. We had a tree we could have cut down and made things a little bit easier, but it was, we didn't want to if we didn't have to. Actually, land that belongs to my sister and brother-in-law in Dexter, Maine. But anyway, a little bit about Live and Learn Overlanding, or which we're going to set up. The website is going to be LL Overland, and how we came to that name. You know, we've been kind of off-roading for a long time, never at this level, and one of our sons is heavy into off-roading. Lived in Tennessee for a few years and did a lot of rock crawling and stuff like that. Has owned 2 or 3 different Jeeps, and him watching YouTube videos, I noticed some overlanders and never heard the term, and was intrigued with the type of tents that they were putting on the vehicles and on the trailers, and I was intrigued with the trailers themselves. So we both had motorcycles. I had a Harley, and Lisa had a Kawasaki classic, custom. Yours was the custom, right?
Mine was the classic.
The classic. Anyway, and we're both getting up there a little bit in age, and a little bit concerned with the traffic and our eyesight and our hearing and everything else. And Lisa's had an accident, had a few close calls, and myself too. So we decided, yeah, we're gonna give up motorcycles. Anyway, so I had that trailer that was specifically bought to carry just my Harley. It was a smaller Tractor Supply trailer, rated for 2,500 pounds, and the one you typically see at Tractor Supply for $6.99, around there. Well, anyways, we had that trailer, and I decided to build on it. You can go to a couple of my other videos on this channel, and you'll see the builds there, or the progress of us building it. Well, anyway, we built it, and you know, the first rendition of it, we bought a CVT Cascadia vehicle tent. It's the Denali. What is the rest of the name? Do you remember?
Stargazer.
Denali. Anyways, it's the biggest tent they make, and we got it at the last minute, just in time to leave for vacation. Last year, we went out west, and you know, went to New Mexico, Arizona, Utah. We went to see the Grand Canyon. We saw Zion. Really, really neat experience, because of owning. We have a 2016 Toyota 4Runner SRT, right? And of course it's got all the active traction control and all the settings.
It's not an SRT, it's an SR.
Just an SR?
Just an SR. I don't know what the T would stand for.
I thought it was 3 letters, but anyway. So anyway, the vehicle did good, very good, and the trailer literally started to disintegrate along the trip. My advice to you is never take a prototype on a long trip. Test it out locally first and really put it through the rigors to find out how everything's going to hold up. That trailer, according to the sticker, the manufacturer's sticker on the trailer, is rated for 2,500 pounds. At the time, we had it loaded to probably less than 2,000 pounds. And the first things to go were, the axle actually started to bow downwards, and the tires were bow-legged, or I guess you'd call it like bow-legged. They were pitched out, and tires were wearing very unevenly. The bearing, one of the bearings went out on us, severely went out on us. Just we realized that at the entrance to Zion. So hence the name Live and Learn, because we're constantly saying that, and have been in our whole life together. We've been together 40 years now. Yeah, we're married for 37, been together for 40 years, and we've been through a lot of exploration and traveling and just getting out there. We love that. We love exploring the country, and we love getting off-road. When we lived in Maine, we left Maine in '94, but when we lived up there, we used to take Sunday rides and go travel the paper company roads and such. And back then I had a Suburban, which was huge and comfortable, not very economical, but huge and comfortable. We had our share of mishaps, getting stuck on a logging road out of the middle of nowhere with very little recovery equipment. Worse being the winch. I owned an 8,000-pound worn winch. It was on my wife's Suburban. So we had to get that truck out manually. I was wearing stonewashed jeans and a white t-shirt, and I'll have to see if I can include that picture on or in this video, a still shot of after I recovered the vehicle. Anyway, needless to say, the clothes were trashed, but we always said live and learn, and so when we were thinking about what a good name would be for the channel and for the website that we're yet to create, we got our URL. We bought that, LL Overland, and now all we have to do is create the channel, and I'm going to transfer the videos from my channel that's right now is just John Chassis. You can go on YouTube and type in John Chassis and you'll find the videos, and there's not just Overland videos. I got some funny squirrel videos on there and stuff, but yeah, we are going to start putting all this together. We got a ton of footage in the week we spent in the North Woods. My wife's a photographer and got I would say probably 1,000 pictures or more. But anyway, we got to sift through all that and do a bunch of editing, create some videos with still shots, and once we get the website, we'll just post the pictures as they come up. We got pictures of how many different moose would you say?
At least 6, maybe 7.
Yep, and I think we have some pretty cool shots, and we'll talk more in the narration of some of the videos about where we were and how it all unfolded. That way you'll get a clear picture of how she got the picture of the moose. But it's a journey, it's a new venture that we've never done before. I have no idea whether or not I'll be able to tackle the webpage myself. I'm going to give it a try. And
Michelle can help you. Our daughter is really good with pages, and she's a photographer as well. But she has her own web page that she set up, so I think we'll be getting with her.
yeah, and she does birth photography and a bunch of other stuff. She used to be a doula, and but she gave that up. And what's the name of her webpage? Do you know?
I believe it's Michelle Lynn Photography.
Michelle Lynn.
She's changed it a couple of times.
Yeah, we'll have to find that out and include it maybe on the bottom. And if there's an overlander out there that's in the birth photography, you can check it out.
Absolutely.
You never know. Anyway, so we're on our way home to DeLand, Florida from northern Maine, visiting some relatives up there and spending a week in the North Woods. Had some really, really neat experiences, which when we create the video and post it, you'll see one of the. I'll give you a little hint to one of the highlights. Excuse me. In the North Woods, which has been known historically for lumber for the pulp industry, and back in the late 1800s, correct? When the train was created, the tram. You'll see some of my Mavic aerial photography of that train and some of the old parts and the old track. And for me, it was very, very hit close to home because I come from a family of lumberjacks from northern Maine. My father was born in St. Agatha, way up there by St. Agatha in French. St. Agatha. If you say St. Agatha when you're up there, they correct you and they say no, St. Agatha. But anyway, Fort Kent, St. Agatha, Madawaska, Frenchville, that's Van Buren, Hamlin Plantation. That was all the home of my family. And like I said, they were all lumberjacks and carpenters and farmers. And we were able to spend a little time going up to St. Agatha or St. Agatha. And one of the things I wanted to do was confirm my father's childhood farm, whether that building was the correct building that we've been visiting these last few times we've been up there. And it is. We went to a historical society and were able to get pictures of my ancestors, my grandparents, great-grandparents, and great-great-grandparents. And Lisa has since gone even further than that with a great-great-grandfather and a little more information about
and
where
a picture,
and a
which
picture.
is awesome.
Right.
I love pictures.
Maybe we can even include that in our video. But she does genealogy and some super interesting history there. But back to the lumberjacking, spending that time in the North Woods and finding that tram, it's at the end of a logging road, definitely off-road material, and then you have to hike in a good mile.
It's about a half a mile, they say.
No, it's a mile. They said a mile, yeah.
Okay.
A mile. And in my book, it was definitely a mile.
Okay. It felt like a mile.
It definitely was a mile. But through some very dark, dense woods. But that's part of the experience because these men and the elements they endured when they were doing, making a living. That's it, just making a living. It's just absolutely amazing. And to see, apparently it was cheaper for the logging company to leave all the equipment there, the actual steam engines, the fuel cars, the tracks, and the trams, which the trams were basically almost like train cars, but they were pulled back and forth by cable from a steam engine, that a land-based steam engine with pulleys and whatnot. Well, anyways, we found all this rusted equipment out there, and for me it was so personal and so meaningful, because I know the attachment of my family to all that and how hard those guys worked, and some of the stories I've heard from my grandparents and my father growing up about the hardships of the life up in the North Woods in northern Maine on the Canadian border. From my grandfather smuggling butter, believe it or not, in a single horse-drawn enclosed sled in the wintertime, with secret compartments, smuggle butter into Canada and smuggle back something else. But anyway, just really, really cool what people did to survive back then.
And apparently that was very common, smuggling things back and forth.
Yeah,
from the U.S. to Canada, back and forth.
We brought it up at the Historical Society, and they just kind of laughed because they realized or knew how prevalent that was back then. You did what you did to survive, and we also found out, one grandfather had, I think it was 14 children. In 15 years. And now, that must have been Superwoman, let me tell you. Barefoot and pregnant, I guess. But, of course, back then they lost a lot of children, too. But long story short, that side of my father's family, the Chassis family, at one time in that farmhouse had 33 people in it, according to the Historical Society, which is absolutely amazing, that what people did to survive. And of course, my dad used to have his stories about his jobs, and he was responsible for bringing the water up from the lake. There's a lake there called Long Lake, and they lived on the north end, and his job as a child was to go down and fetch the water in 5-gallon buckets and bring it back up to the farmhouse. And also they built him a raft and put an anchor out there so he could just use a pulley system to pull himself out into the lake. And he used to catch carp, and they'd take the carp, because they weren't good eating fish for humans, so they take the carp and their rotten potatoes and cook them up in a cauldron to feed the pigs. And also they used to dehydrate some of that, and it was chicken feed. And according again to the Historical Society, that whole family were known for being really, really good farmers and raising really neat, nice crops. And I even can attest to that firsthand because of my dad having a garden when I was growing up. Later on in my life, because we actually were raised in an apartment house for my first 16 years, I think. And we got the single family home. First thing he did was put a garden in. But you were going to say something?
I was going to say, in reference to your family and how they were really proficient in gardening, is the fact that your great-grandfather, his name was Pia, P-E-A.
Right, spelled P-E-A.
His father was Lettuce.
Which is like lettuce.
And then Lettuce's brother was Romaine. So
we got the vegetable family.
Exactly.
And we kind of...
So
Pia? and which is actually, we found out, pronounced Paya. Lettuce and romaine. And you have the vegetable family, the salad.
We think that's rather common.
Yeah, so I just find all this stuff so interesting, and my wife found out that both her mother and father have roots in Prince Edward Island in Canada. So during this trip, she came up a week prior to me, flew up to take a trip to Prince Edward Island with her parents to go check out, the land of their heritage, and foundation of their family.
Yeah, they actually have a memorial there for him, the originating ancestor. And
what was his name?
His name was Mikhail Hashi Galant. And somehow through the years, the Hashi disappeared, and so our family name is Galant. But they have a memorial up there for him, which is really cool. They have a reunion every year. So, I don't know, maybe next year. Sounds cool.
Yep. So, great trip, a lot of memories, a lot of pictures, a lot of video. It's not a funny story. It will be one day. I mean, it's kind of sort of is now, because, again, a tribute to Live and Learn. We were on the side of a lake the first night. We stayed on the west side of 201, northwest of Jackman, Maine, which is up in no man's country. I mean, that's all it is up there, is logging and tourism. And we found immediately after going in on a logging road, we found a road that cut off the main road, and we took in, and come to find out it was a little makeshift boat launch, and it had a beach that was just wide enough for us to pull the overland rig onto and deploy it, and literally our dining table that we took out, we have these folding tables, the front feet were almost in the water, so we're sitting there looking out on this lake, and there's nobody out there except for loons.
And that's what drew us there, was that there was a loon, like he was greeting us, right there.
And they were hooting and hollering all night, which, if you've never heard the haunty sounds a loon makes at night, especially in the mountains with the echo and the reverb, for me is such a soothing sound. I loved it. Anyway, so we had the table set up, and we have a 5-gallon water jug with clean water. And anyways, I sat that on the corner of the table, as we usually do when we go out camping. Have that water readily available. And so everything was cool. My wife made supper. We deployed the whole tent with the full setup with the annex, and had a beautiful night's sleep. It was pitch black out there, and the loons, like I said, were doing their calls through the night, which was beautiful. Got up the next morning, and I decided to get some drone footage, and got the drone up in the air and started flying around. I got VR goggles. I got the VR goggles on. My wife's up in the tent, straightening things out, getting ready for us to close it all up and move to our next location. And all of a sudden, I hear a big splash, and I pull off the VR goggles, and I see the table upside down in the lake. And asked her, "I hope your camera wasn't on there." And she said, "I think it was." And I ran over, flipped the table over, and lo and behold, her Canon T6i was in the lake along with the binoculars. And what had happened is that 5-gallon jug sitting on the corner of the table slowly but surely pushed that one leg in. And this is not mud. It wasn't like, oh, you guys are idiots, because this is, if you've ever been to northern Maine or places like it, everything is crushed shale. Very compact. As a matter of fact, you don't travel those woods without 10-ply tires, and you air down because, and we learned the hard way, live and learn, again, getting flats out there because the shale is like razor blades. And when we had to drive 87 miles out of the woods to get a new tire, and the guy at the tire place said, yeah, everybody runs 10-ply tires out there. You're crazy if you don't. Well, we didn't know that. Again, live and learn. So the table's sitting there, and it's on a pretty steady, stable surface, but that 5 gallons of water, 5 times 8 is 45, right? 40, sorry. No, 45, 5, right. Anyway, pounds on one corner, one leg, so it slowly but surely worked its way in and flipped over. So we grabbed the camera and dumped out